You said you're a double hater, and so I just don't like. How do you get from a place where somebody is criminal, insane, deranged, a lunatic, possibly liable to do another insurrection, and then say, well, I don't know, even Steven, I don't like Kamala because Bernie Sanders said something mean about billionaires. Like I don't understand.
No,
why not
I just don't know that. I don't think she's qualified for the job. She's been an
attorney general, a senator, vice president.
Yeah, I am not impressed by her.
In this video, Tim Miller obliterates a MAGA apologist for his spineless Trump defense. Tim Miller absolutely goes on Jason Calacanis for his ridiculous backpedaling on Trump. One moment, Jason's calling Trump an existential threat, and then the next, he's just making excuses and playing the both sides game. But Tim just isn't having it with him, and he just presses Jason on how he went from wanting Trump to be jailed to basically shrugging and considering a write-in vote. It's the classic Silicon Valley fence-sitting nonsense, and Tim just picks it apart piece by piece. So make sure to watch till the end to see how Tim Miller completely obliterates a MAGA apologist for his spineless Trump defense.
At all.
Sure,
and
but I mean, there are plenty of people I'm not impressed by that I would vote for over Trump. I mean, I guess I disagree with you on Kamala, but basically
you're making a strong argument.
There's 435 people in Congress. I mean, I would probably vote for all of them over Trump, except maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know Ilhan Omar, but like, I mean, you could pick a random person out of the hat I would have over Trump. I don't understand like, how do you go from saying this person should be jailed, he's disqualified, he's a maniac, to being like, well, I don't know.
Well, I'm not a fan of either person, and I'll probably do a write-in vote. But I don't think Trump's going to win, if I'm being honest. I think women who had their rights taken away by Roe v. Wade, which is my second major blocker with Trump, January 6th being number one and overturning Roe v. Wade number two. I think women are going to come out in force, and he's going to get shellacked. Yeah. But I could be wrong. You know?
I don't know. I mean, but like,
I'm no political expert.
Sure, you had him on the podcast though. And you didn't even ask about January 6th. So this is
I'm one of.
Chamath wanted him to
I was going to go to it.
A piece of shit fucking scumbag, and then he comes on the podcast. Yeah,
you can ask Chamath about that. I was going to ask him about it, and we ran out of time. And I'm only 25% of the questions, but I did get my 2 questions in about abortion, which went national news, and visas and immigration, which went national news. So I had 3 questions I wanted to ask. And in my interview technique, was going to increasingly go with the more difficult ones. And then when we got to January 6th, they pulled the plug on it.
Yeah.
But no, sincerely, Tim, you're laughing, but I don't know.
No, I'm laughing because it's just like,
did you hear my other questions?
I did. They were fun. They were tough questions. I'm
the only person who asked tough questions.
Yeah, you're the only one. But
I followed up like 3 times.
Why don't you look at your
on
colleagues?
Those.
You don't. In the post game though, then I listened to the post game, and it wasn't like you were like mad at them for not asking him, or you didn't say like, "Hey, Chamath."
No, I mean they're not journalists.
You thought he should be jailed.
So Tim just isn't letting Jason slide. Jason went from calling Trump a criminal maniac who should be jailed to suddenly playing both sides, and Tim's reaction is just complete disbelief. How do you go from existential threat to maybe a write-in? That's just classic Silicon Valley fence sitting. Then Jason tries to flex about asking tough questions, and Tim just shuts that down real fast. Like, bro, you just had Trump on your podcast, and you didn't even ask about January 6th? Instead, you just softballed them, and now you want credit for being a journalist? And the excuse of running out of time. Like, that's just laughable. Somehow there was time for visas and abortion, but not the coup attempt? Tim just sees through all his BS, and honestly, it's just embarrassing at this point.
Yeah. Like, I just don't understand how you get there from, I thought he should be jailed, to I'm going to host a fundraiser for him.
Well,
does he no longer think he should be jailed?
You have to ask them.
Well, why don't you ask him though? You guys have a podcast. You meet every week, isn't that?
Yeah, we've had the debate many times on it. Yeah, we've had.
So then, do you understand what changed? I mean, again, Trump.
Chamath did a whole episode where he talked about his re-underwriting of it. So you can listen to that episode. Yeah, I'm saying, I'm here to talk about my opinion. I can't tell you about theirs. Yeah.
Well, but your opinion is still neutral, though, which I'm struggling with. Like, I struggle with
I think
how
Trump's
is Kamala an existential threat?
I think if she spends a ton of money, I think they're both existential threats. If they spend another $8 trillion,
yes. So you said you weren't a politics guy, so maybe I'm going to try to win you over here.
Okay, go ahead.
The Senate right now is 50 to 50, 51 to 50, 51 to 49, excuse me. And Joe Manchin is one of the Democratic senators. He's not running again. So the Republicans are going to win that state. That's West Virginia.
Yeah.
So the Republicans have at least 50 senators. They're almost certainly going to win the Montana Senate race, which is John Tester. He's running. Nice guy. Lost a couple of fingers, but it's just Montana's pretty red these days. And so the Republicans are going to have 51 Senate seats.
Pause. Are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.
There's nothing, I just don't, if the threat to Trump is he might try another insurrection, he's going to mass deport people. He might unilaterally put in a tariff. And the threat to Kamala is she might spend a lot of money, but there's going to be a Republican Senate. It just seems like,
also,
a risk. You're a risk assessment guy, right? When you're deciding what to invest in, isn't general risk analysis part of?
Yeah, I think she's a bit of a neocon, and I think the one thing I do like about Trump, I will say,
a neocon.
Yeah, I think she will start wars, and I don't think she will be able to handle those geopolitical situations as well as Trump. This is the only thing I can say for Trump that I appreciate about him is his ability to bond with dictators. And he does quite well with them, communicating with them, and he doesn't like to start wars. And he's, I think that he will do better on that issue.
Yeah. So was that what your risk assessment? Because that's really where it kind of lands for me. I just like, even if I were a double hater, which I'm not, like my risk assessment is I look at the two sides and it's like we've established that the things are basically fine in the country right now, even good. And it's like we could continue that path with a mixed Washington, with Supreme Court being Republican, with the Senate being Republican, with Kamala Harris as president, or we can take a flyer on Donald Trump unleashed. We've already seen what happened at the Capitol. Who knows what would happen in a second term? Like, isn't it just
I think you've done a
basic risk assessment?
I think your analysis is excellent.
So have I won you over? Have we done it right now?
Do I have breaking news?
Texas. Your vote kind of matters. You just said at the beginning, you have a lot of people that listen to your podcast. I'm sure there are a lot of Jasons out there. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are annoyed with Sachs and they're like listening to Jason and they're like, I don't know, I'm on the fence right now and I live in Atlanta and I'm an all-in fan and maybe you can nudge them the right direction.
And Jason's spineless waffling is just to another level here. Tim calls him out hard for going from saying Trump is an existential threat who should be jailed to suddenly hosting a fundraiser for him. And Jason's excuse? We debated it on the podcast. Like, bro, just answer the question. Then comes his worst take yet, claiming Trump doesn't start wars and is somehow good with dictators. January 6 happened. Trump openly praised authoritarians not because he was some strategic genius, but because he admires them. Tim tries to break it down in Jason's own language, risk assessment. One side is mostly stable with checks in place, and the other is Trump unleashed, no guardrails. Jason even admits that Tim's analysis is excellent, yet still won't commit to the obvious choice for some reason.
Yeah, I'll take it under advisement.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That was a good try.
I mean, I take the other issue I have with Kamala is not going on any adversarial podcasts or talking to people who are adversarial.
She's doing Fox this week.
I finally, yes. I give her credit for doing Fox this week. Yes.
Okay.
That's the other big thing. Like, I really feel like there should be 3 debates.
I agree.
And that there should be 3. Anybody who's a presidential candidate should have to do 3 primary debates and 3 regular debates, presidential debates. And like, I think Trump did 2 debates and Kamala did 1. And neither of them did any primary. And then Kamala had no primary process. Yeah. So what do you think of that, not having a primary process for her?
I wish there was primary. But also parties picked presidents like this for a long time. And so I don't really see it as a grave threat to
democracy. Who would you rather have?
Than Kamala?
Instead of Kamala.
I mean, Kamala's grown on me, to be honest. And I don't like
Why?
So why? Maybe part of the reason that you don't like her, the Kamala's a neocon thing. I feel like her foreign policy comments have all been directly in line with where I'm at, basically, on foreign policy. So she's grown on me in that sense. I thought her convention was really an appeal to the big middle and to kind of the American tradition, particularly when it comes to immigration and speaking about, kind of the diverse backgrounds of her and Tim Walz and giving people opportunity and protecting freedom. I just think all of her rhetoric.
What do you think of Tim Walz? Like,
I didn't like that pick. I wanted Shapiro.
Me too.
I like Shapiro a lot
seems-
better. And
Why
I
didn't you
think
pick Shapiro? It makes no sense to me. Like, is it this idea of like you don't want somebody who's a little bit brighter in terms of shining bright, not bright?
Yeah,
intellect.
I think I have on pretty good authority. I think that the reason was simply vibes, that like her and Walls clicked. That Walls was more of like a cheerleader type. Like, I'm here for you. I'm going to be your second in command. Also, the like kind of the vibe of bringing a little bit of balance. Like Shapiro, despite the fact that they're different, like they both are still like coastal lawyers, right? Like I mean, Shapiro is still like
back
was
to
a
the
lawyer,
elites thing,
you know, and so it's kind of a double lawyer thing
Coastal
versus a
elites.
lawyer and a guy that's like a teacher and a veteran. So I just think that was really the reason why. But yeah, I it would have been interesting to have a whole primary finalist. I think that she's really like stepped up and exceeded expectations in the big moments in the debate at the convention speech. I mean, just to be candid, like back before it was all, my argument was just solely focused on beating Trump. And I was like, you know, if we could move on from Biden and get a Shapiro and Whitmer situation where they both are popular in their home states and center left Democrats, that would be like the safest way to beat Trump.
And wrapping this up, Jason's whole defense was just pathetic. Tim exposed his weak excuses, his spineless flip-flopping, and just ridiculous both sides nonsense. 1 minute Trump is an existential threat, then the next Jason is out here raising a fundraiser for him. Tim called it out perfectly, and Jason just had nothing on him. Anyways, if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below.